weak player on... It seems every week they have a player...
You ever just have a really bad day at work? Well, thankfully, 99% of those cringeworthy moments nobody else remembers, as we can usually move past things pretty quickly. Then there is the case of Brian Collins, who had the worst moments of his life not only broadcast live, but captured for all the world to see, over and over again. Today we're going to learn about what happened to the Boom Goes the Dynamite kid and where he is now. Coming up right after this. It's March 2005. Brian Collins is a 19-year-old freshman and aspiring news reporter at Ball State and is working at the university's television station, Newslink at 9. Brian happened to be shooting video at the studio and learned that the regular sports anchor had called in sick that night. Eager to try his hand at on-screen reporting, Collins volunteered to come on camera and do a live segment for about 3 minutes of sports highlight. And that decision would forever change his life. Now, before I get into what happened, what is your worst fear? It's widely accepted that most people fear public speaking more than they fear death. Now take public speaking and combine it with a live broadcast. Some of you may be sweating just at the very thought. But really, public speaking isn't so bad, provided you know your subject and you are prepared. And preparation is something Collins wasn't afforded, as he was hastily handed the rundown of his highlight segment only moments before going live. Even worse, he admittedly didn't know much about sports. But he did know one thing he was going to do: ESPN-like catchphrase style newscasting. Surely it would be a hit. I mean, what could go wrong for his first time ever on camera? All he had to do was read the teleprompter.
Hello everyone. Well, the Ball State softball team continued to play this weekend, and they were hoping to continue off of their straight 3 out of 4 losses. They started off good, but then eventually, the Ball State women's team shut down and ended up doing poorly. Oh no.
What Brian didn't anticipate was immediate technical problems. He started off great, didn't he? But the onset teleprompter had technical issues 14 seconds into his segment, and things got clearly worse from there, as it began to fast forward out of control.
The Cards will battle in-state rival Indiana tomorrow. First... Hoosiers are on the 4 on the year. And a weak player on... It seems every week they have a player... Matt Lawrence is the latest Cardinals...
You can see Brian wanting to tap out about a minute into this disaster, but you have to admire his perseverance as the train wreck that he is involved in starts piling freight cars into each other.
7 out of the 9 weeks. The Cards will play at Boise State Invite this weekend.
But then about 2 minutes into the video, Brian somehow strikes pure gold and utters the phrase that would become synonymous with his existence.
Let's check out the highlights. Reggie Miller's looking good. He shoots a 3, and it's good. Later he gets the rebound, passes it to the man, shoots it, and boom goes the dynamite.
Now, I will get into his famous catchphrase and its origin in just a little bit, but Brian keeps working through the cringeworthy segment. Apparently, he could only make out a few words on the teleprompter before they disappeared. However, he actually had the script right in his hand. All he had to do was look down. I guess things as simple as that only come with experience.
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live! Fuck it!
His segment mercifully ends in dead silence and more awkwardness.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot for that look into sports, Brian.
Yeah.
And when we come back...
How about the relief in that young man's face?
Yeah.
And...
But what happened after Collins was done would take the world by storm.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Remember, this was 2005 and there weren't too many outlets for digital video. YouTube was still in its infancy. But the clip was posted to a site called eBombs World. Who remembers eBombs World? And poor Brian would become one of the world's first viral sensations as the clip of his pathetic and awkward sports broadcast began making its way across the internet and back. And the catchphrase,
and boom goes the dynamite,
took off. But for Brian, It wasn't so fun. Imagine the worst 4 minutes and 30 seconds of your life captured on film and now having the entire world watching it over and over again and sending it to colleagues in massive chain emails, because that's how information was shared back then. Collins received hate mail and harassment, and remember, this was before Twitter, so people actually had to write their hate mail out, put a stamp on it, and send it to him. And the Ball State television station actually had to unplug its phone because all of the calls they received from people wanting to spit venom at Brian. And apparently it did not help his freshman game with the ladies around campus either. In an interview, Collins said he walked home that night in the rain. Sometimes it's just not your day. However, the one bright spot from his on-air cringe was, of course, the phrase.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Collins said he made it up while playing Mario Kart with his friends, and in particular when he would launch the green shells. Seems so simple, right? Who knew?
And boom goes the dynamite.
The phrase became so huge it even now has its own Wikipedia page, is in the Urban Dictionary, and has a video dedicated to it on Know Your Meme. It's also in many YouTube videos, worked its way onto shows like Family Guy and others.
Boom goes the dynamite.
And it blew up even more when ESPN's Scott Van Pelt saw the original clip and started working in the phrase into his broadcasts. And that, my friends, is the very definition of irony. TBS recreated the cringy segment for the 2014 MLB playoffs with Pedro Martinez playing the role of Colin. And it's even in the new trailer for Deadpool 2. The phrase is still somehow relevant, unlike "what's up." Once the hate died down, Brian appeared on talk shows to come tell his story, and even Ball State alumnus David Letterman sent a plaque to his alma mater that reads, "Dedicated to all the C students before and after me," a sort of indirect nod to Brian and his plight. There is justice for poor Brian, as he would get a web redemption on Tosh.0 where he got to recount the story of his horrific night. Once it was all said and done though, Brian needed to get a real job. You can only cash in on a meme for so long. You would think, like a kid that got bit by a shark, he would never go back into the ocean ever again, but Collins would dust himself off and became an actual news reporter for KSAX in Waco, Texas. And today lists himself as a freelance content creator in Kentucky on his LinkedIn page. Interestingly enough though, he has never done a sports segment since, unless you count his web redemption where they actually gave him time to prepare his lines, and you can see he's not bad at all.
Well, based on the lack of diversity, I'd say we can expect to see a lot of set shots and layups this afternoon.
Boy, he'd fit in well on my live stream. But that one night back in 2005, yeah, it was bad, but you have to admire him for not giving up and literally not dying, which he probably would have taken at one point. Maybe right at this moment. Thank you, Brian Collins, and for everyone brave enough to give it a shot. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this. You can also download the FanDuel app from the link below and use my code BASEHIT10 and get a 20% cash bonus on your first deposit. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to the end of this video. What's going on? It's Mr. 5 Points here with a little video. This is my first gameplay video. First commentary ever, and I've kind of learned that when you have a problem when it comes to video recording, you just throw money at it. So